Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Guardians of the Galaxy. It is the 10th Marvel Studios film, and it is the last film before the Avengers 2 of what Marvel calls their Phase 2, and it's the only film of Phase 2 that is not a sequel. It's not really an origin story, it kind of is, but that's not primarily the base of the film, or it doesn't feel like an origin story. It's their only real standalone kind of feeling film I've seen from them in a long time, if ever. I think the only thing this really shares with the other Marvel films is its use of humor, but how quickly it moves, how funny it is, how much fun it is. When Marvel Studios works, they're really kind of like super Hollywood, big blockbuster, audience-friendly films. And Guardians of the Galaxy definitely falls in that tradition. And James Gunn, despite having darker moments in this film and having weirder characters like Groot or Rocket Raccoon, it's kind of an odd cast of characters, this whole group, and they all have unique personalities, not just the way they talk, but the way they move physically, the way they fight. Their personalities are all throughout their characters, so it's really a very well-defined, fun group. This is probably the most fun big blockbuster I've seen all summer, and probably in a while. It might be the most fun I've seen with a big blockbuster since the Avengers. It has that audience-friendly attitude that is the reason people love Marvel Studios so much. Peter Quill, played by Chris Pratt, or Star-Lord as he likes to be called, after he was abducted from Earth by some space trader type guys. Then it cuts to current day where he is trying to take a space orb and sell it off after he gets in some trouble when he gets it from a empty planet. And when he takes the space orb to a collector, there's a bounty on his head, and then Gamora, a daughter of Thanos, goes after him, as well as Rocket Raccoon and Groot, and they all get in trouble and go to jail by the Nova Corp, who takes them to this jail facility called the Kiln, and they meet Drax the Destroyer, quickly get out of there and try to take the orb to sell it to the collector, and get into all sorts of mischief because of this orb and the Infinity Gem inside, and then try to stop an evil Kree Lord Ronan from getting the Infinity Gem and destroying a planet and all its inhabitants. I've heard a lot of talk of James Gunn possibly doing a third Avengers movie. When I saw the trailers, I was like, well, that looks fun, but I don't know. That's a huge job if Joss Whedon doesn't decide to do that film. And after watching this film, I have to say, I actually kind of agree with that idea, because he has such a great flow to this film. As someone who's watched the first Avengers film, well, the only one that's been released at this time, the first 20 minutes of the Avengers film is pretty rough. And there's no real rough points in this film. It moves fairly quickly and speedily and never really loses the audience. The audience was packed, and anybody who brought their girlfriend or a friend who didn't really know the Marvel cosmic universe as well was lost sometimes, but most of the time they were having so much fun they didn't really mind it. James Gunn really kept that energy going. Some movies have this kind of party energy to them that just keep everybody up, so that you're just kind of with it and you don't really mind sitting there and watching this film, even if you're not someone who's a moviegoer regularly. What I think a lot of those audiences don't realize is because they really understand all the characters. Every character is so well defined. That's something Marvel Studios has done very well. That's something I really like about them. They don't just look at these superheroes, or these aren't superheroes really, but it's mainly about certain characters, and there's certain arcs to like Peter Quill and Gamora and Rocket Raccoon and Groot and Drax. You understand that and you're connected to them. With the Peter Quill character, you get such an arc with him where you understand why he has his awesome mix cassette, you understand why he does certain things, even how Rocket Raccoon acts, and how Groot's always going to say, "I am Groot," and how Drax takes everything literally. And it seemed like James Gunn understood how to use all these actors. He understood how to use them to their strengths. Now, there are certain parts where he has them just explain their backstory, kind of because Rocket's drunk or Drax needs to explain it for whatever reason, and that gets a little dull. I kind of look past it because it doesn't dwell on it so long that it can really drag you down. It just drags it down for a couple instances, and then the movie kind of moves on. Actually, I felt this film almost went by too quick. It's a 2-hour film, but it kept moving so much. I was like, you know, I could really see this again, and I bet there's things I didn't even notice because it felt like it was so jam-packed with information, but it had such a great flow about it. One of the big things in comic book movies, and especially this summer, has been showing continuity through these films. X-Men Days of Future Past did it, and Captain America the Winter Soldier did it, and that's certainly something comic book movies have never really done before. And it's really amazing and it's cool when they do that, but this is really self-contained. I mean, certainly Thanos has an appearance, and they talk about the Infinity Gems, and I guess because eventually they'll do an Infinity Gauntlet type scenario. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't feel like it was setting up Avengers 2. It felt like it was kind of setting up something that's really, really far off, but if you didn't really even know about that, this film could really just stand on its own. Maybe that was because this is a riskier idea, it's a crazier idea, it's probably Marvel's riskiest film they've made since their first film, which, you know, if that had failed, they would have lost all the rights to all their characters, so that would have been pretty devastating. So maybe that's why they did that, but it certainly felt a lot more refreshing. This felt like a really fun space movie, like a space romp almost, because of James Gunn's energy, and that he can do so many weird, quirky, odd things but still make an audience-friendly film. There's not many directors who can do that anymore. If you're gonna make a corporate film, you have to sell your soul most of the time, and with James Gunn that wasn't there. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk since Edgar Wright got kicked off of Ant-Man, what's going to happen with Marvel films. Even though you've had certain films that really feel like a director's stamp is on them, whether Marvel will change and these kind of films won't be around anymore, I don't really know. This film doesn't feel like the Marvel we're all fearing they'll become has happened just yet. And we don't know if it will, because it doesn't feel like Avengers 2 will be like that, so I guess we'll have to wait till July of next summer. But as of right now, and of the Marvel films I have actually seen, it seems all well and good in the Marvel Universe. People saying it's probably one of the best Marvel films and everything like that. I don't like to proclaim things like that, but I can honestly tell you I have a tradition with comic book movies, and especially Marvel movies. I grew up reading comic books with my dad, and anytime I see a comic book movie, between when there's the first credit sequence and the end credit sequence, I always text my dad. If it's good, I'll text him. If not, I guess he can figure it out. I did text him and say I thought this was as much fun, if not more fun, than the Avengers. I think I would put this on the list of the better Marvel films, and this has been a good year for Marvel with The Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy. Probably one of its better years in terms of quality. I would actually put this year over last year. Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon. I don't always love how sarcastic Bradley Cooper is. I felt like how he used his smartass kind of ways in this film worked for him. Apparently he based it kind of on Joe Pesci from Goodfellas, but I thought he was really, really good as Rocket Raccoon. Everybody thought Rocket Raccoon was going to steal the show, and Bradley Cooper and all the animators who worked on it did a great job of making sure that happened. Chris Pratt, who, this is a quirky, strange movie, and he doesn't hide from that. He's not like a leading man who's put in this quirky, strange movie. Chris Pratt really gets the kind of film this is, and we've all known for a little bit that he's like groomed for movie superstardom with this in Jurassic World, so it's just going to happen, so we should just accept it, but he makes a good case for that happening. I liked how they used Dave Bautista, who didn't look like he was the greatest actor, but he seemed to embody Drax so well. There's something to be said about a director who knows how to use a certain actor's skills to the film's advantage, and I think that's really what happened with Drax. I'm not saying Dave Bautista is a terrible actor. He's a good actor for that role, and he did that role very well. Vin Diesel doing his voice acting once again from when he did it for the Iron Giant. Vin Diesel's really good at actually saying very little, and it says how good of an actor he is, because I don't know a lot of actors who could just say I am Groot and make it work as well as he did in this film. Zoe Saldana, I liked his Gamora. I liked her fight sequence with Karen Gillan, who I felt was really good but could have done a little bit more. That is the one thing about Marvel films that's the biggest complaint, is that the villains aren't as well developed as the heroes, and I think Lee Pace's Ronan, the first Kree we've seen on screen, I actually thought was much better than the villain in Thor, but I actually thought he did a pretty decent job. I mean, I think he's one of the better, seems like, forgettable Marvel villains, but I thought he was pretty memorable. Maybe that was just me. And I actually kind of like Josh Brolin as Thanos. Thanos is a character I liked a lot as a kid, so he has a certain special meaning to me. One of the first comics my dad and I got into was the Infinity Gauntlet, so I have kind of a lot of expectations for that, but I thought Josh Brolin was actually pretty good. He's only in one scene, and I don't think he should be in it anymore. It's kind of like the Emperor in Empire Strikes Back. Probably a little bit more than that, but around that kind of an appearance. There's certain fun of seeing a film with an audience who, when I sat down, I didn't even really like the people I was sitting next to, but after a while I had such a good time at this movie. I felt like, you know, you're one with the audience and you're having a great time. It didn't even bother me. That's what I want from escapism and Hollywood and Marvel Studios, is to have a great time, see a great movie, get emotionally involved with these well-defined characters. And with Marvel Studios doing things like that, that will keep me interested and keep me going back. And I've had such a great year with them, with this and Captain America the Winter Soldier, and I couldn't even really decide which one I like more. I like them both so much. They're both really different movies. It makes them look like the great studio that they have been so far. Of the 10 films, I think I would rank them both as not just two of my favorite blockbusters of the year, but two of my favorite films of the year. Think of the great blockbuster directors of my childhood, or the blockbuster directors of the past, who could do things like have a giant talking Wookiee in the background, but the audience loves it. And in this, we have a giant tree and a raccoon and a girl covered in green, Drax the Destroyer, and all this stuff, and it works really well, and it's fun, and it's rewatchable, and it flows really well. You know, I wasn't shifting in my seat like the Transformers. I was into this. I was having fun, and I didn't feel like my intelligence was insulted. And I loved the awesome mix Volume 1 that was playing throughout it. And even though a lot of those songs I've heard in countless films, I actually really liked hearing them in this movie because it won me over so much. To make such an audience-friendly film, I think says how good of a film Guardians of the Galaxy is. It's really one of the best space action-adventure big blockbuster films I've seen in a long time, and it's one of the few that doesn't take itself so seriously. It has almost an infectious energy, and it reminds me of leaving the Avengers and being like, oh my god, I can't believe they pulled that off. It has a similar feeling, not as much because, you know, they didn't bring various franchises together and whatnot, but it's still very surprising and quirky and a lot of fun, and it has that fun blockbuster energy running throughout it that audiences love to see, and I love to watch, and I think you'll love to see it as well. So if you have seen Guardians of the Galaxy and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to. And I have a Marvel Cinematic Review playlist, and you can click on the annotation below. I have reviewed all the previous 9 Marvel Studios films, and you just click on the annotation, and you can watch those if you would like to do so. And I hope to see you next time, and thank you for watching.